Hi everyone, here's a look at Knockhill Racing Circuit in the IR-04. The setup I'm using is identical to the iRacing Knockhill set, but I've just taken a bit of fuel out of it. And there's the track conditions. Okay, we'll start from here because getting an exit out of the final corner is quite important to putting a lap together here. I've never actually raced at this track before, I just purchased it today. And when I was having a look at some of the online videos of how the kind of layout of the track was, it looks quite difficult because basically every apex is over a curb and launches the car. But there actually is quite a nice flow to it. Once you get the flow kind of right, then the track actually becomes quite smooth and it kind of invites you to attack the corners. But the limit is extremely thin. You go a little bit over it and you're spinning or bashing a curb and you're off the track and getting a 1x. So build up, but the track does actually have quite a nice flow considering how many curbs are on the apexes. Now when you're coming into this first apex, it's very important to get the car up and over the curb. Now you're wanting to get the front wheel about here, but you're not wanting to clip the curb. Now how much apex speed you carry in is quite important, because if you carry too much apex speed in, you're not going to be able to get the car back to the left for the next apex. But if you don't carry enough in, then you're going to lose speed and lose time. So it's just about working the limit. So you get that curb right up, but don't get it on that orange kind of curbing. And as soon as you get over there, the next thought has to be getting the car quickly back to this left-hand apex, because you need to be on the left to open up the right-hander. So you've gone over the first curb, you're immediately getting back to the left-hand apex to open up this right-hander. And basically all through here, you're thinking about keeping the car steady and flat, because if you start inducing oversteer, you're basically not going to be able to pick the car up. The second you have to put any sort of opposite lock, the car will sort of run wide of the next apex, then you're going to have a very tight third apex there. So carrying as much momentum as you can so you can get both the first and second left-hander apex and open the third apex right up. There's kind of a gravel trap waiting for you on the exit of the third corner if you run too wide, and that also is if you enter too narrow. Now here, you've done sort of the hard bit of this corner by opening up the first and second apex, and you've got them on the limit. So you really want to get this car in, but don't clip this inside curb too much. You go on the blue and white stuff, but not the orange stuff. Then you can push the car out in the exit and use all the track. That's because I've had the nice line to be able to enter from wide here, then I can get up on this curb and push the car out. If I was, for instance, entering from about the middle of the track because I'd carried too much initial apex speed into the first apex and I hadn't quite made the second one, then I'd be entering here at a narrow angle and you couldn't carry anywhere near as much speed because you're worried about running wide on the exit and getting a 1x or putting the wheel in that sand and spinning. So these next few corners come up really quick. You enter here and you're pretty much just flat out into this corner. You're not wanting to upset the car too much, but it's not really much of a corner because in this car you can just go flat. And through here, you're wanting to take as much of the left-hand curb as you can get away with and not bounce the car too much. So if you go really far up in that left-hand curb, you're going to unsettle it, but you find the limit, you go up on it, and you really need to open up this next corner. So you don't even really, the car's pretty much still in the air when you're turning in for this next right-hander, sorry, and you're going straight. And if you get that all right, you should be able to settle the car up just on the exit here without running off to a 1x. If, for instance, you don't use enough track on this right-hand second apex here, then you run a line, say about a bit more wide, then you're probably going to catch a 1x in the sand. So it's really just about building up to this corner and letting the car bounce. And you'll usually have to settle it a bit. Now this right-hander here is quite important for the whole run down the back of the straight, and it's another 1x just waiting to get you. So you're wanting to enter out on this curb out here because you're opening the corner about as much as you can. So this whole section here is your entry line. Then you want to turn in, and you really can't clip the orange curb. Although you could in those previous two apexes, in this, if you go up on this orange curb, it's going to bounce the car and you're going to lose both momentum and it will knock it offline. So you kind of want to get as close to that curb as you can and go quickly back onto the throttle, then run the car out. Now on this particular lap, I didn't quite get it close enough to this right-hand apex, so I had to kind of just be a little bit hesitant getting throttle so it didn't run out and get the 1x. See, I was just a little bit away from it. If I'd gotten that apex a bit more sharper, I could have gone back onto the throttle a bit quicker. But here I just hesitate because I'm wanting to make sure the car doesn't understeer off the track and grab a 1x because it was on quite a good lap overall. And that probably sacrificed a 10th there. Now here you're just braking in a straight line. There's not any real braking marker to use, but you're braking in a straight line so the car doesn't lock too much. And then you're just sort of turning up right. Now I'm trying to avoid getting too close to the inside curb. I'm trying to more straight line the exit, so getting the car rotated, then getting it in a straight line to accelerate out. You're probably minimizing your track distance if you get the front end a bit more up closer to here. But I tend to find the bump just kind of unsettles it a little bit, and I get a nicer drive out if I can just kind of not quite hit the apex and drive it straight, but your mileage may vary. If you can get the car tucked into that apex, then you have saved a tiny bit of track difference. Track distance. There's a run to the line on the 46.8. This track's, yeah, it's quite a lot of fun, particularly when you're just time trialing it and you're trying to find the absolute limit. But it is very punishing. If you go over the limit, then yeah, in a race, it's going to be quite catastrophic if you just find over the limit, smack a curb and you're off the track. So here is a lap in full speed.